Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial. Go to audibletrial.com/Rushmore. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Hello and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff, and I'm joined as always by my good friends Richard.
Hello.
And Michael.
Howdy.
And we have a special guest this week. Could you introduce yourself, special guest?
What's going on, everyone? My name is Sa, and I'm with Club WAKA.
So that leads us to the topic for this week, and that is the Mount Rushmore of adult kickball. Michael, you chose it. Why?
Well, this has been like kind of the elephant that's been in the room on our podcast for the past 80-something episodes.
I thought that was sexual tension, Michael.
Both Richard and Jeff and I met playing kickball, adult kickball, through the World Adult Kickball Association, which I guess goes by the name of Club WAKA now. And
is this like Canadian-style soccer baseball,
It's
Michael?
very similar.
Okay.
Very similar. And it's been, the thing that kind of brought us together initially. And I thought when I was looking at the schedule, it's something that we never really talked about at length. But then with the upcoming Founders Cup games in Las Vegas, which is like the big Club WAKA championship, I thought it would be great to bring on another expert, the person that runs Founders Cup practically and has been running much of kickball in Los Angeles and the Southland here in California for a long time.
They call him Mr. Kickball.
Mr. Kickball. Well, Mr. Kickball, you probably know how we do things here, and that is we debate the top four of any given topic, and this time around, it's kickball. So you are the visitor, so you are going to start, Sa. So start off with one of your Mount Rushmore selections for this topic.
Mount Rushmore selections for kickball. Oh, there are so many. But why don't we start off with my all-time favorite, team names.
Awesome.
Team names. What is it? What aspect of team names made you select this?
Well, I think for a lot of people, the immediate reaction is let's find a way to be creative. And you would think that over the years that would bring a significant variety in terms of creativity, either with sexual puns with the word ball or some reference to pulp culture. But you'd be surprised at how often people come up with the same tried and tired team name just to think that they are particularly unique or different.
Yeah.
If you're the type of person that thinks New Kicks on the Block is a brilliant name for a team, we've got to have words.
Michael, I believe there's a spreadsheet about this, is there not?
Yeah, this is also on my list, which is listed as obnoxious team names. And about 10 years ago, I mean, everything that we've done is about 10 years ago to start. Me and a couple friends started going through all of like the WAKA kickball leagues and tried to determine just how frequent.
I believe it was me and you and former guest Scott Jones.
Yeah.
And former guest Paul Lurie.
Yeah.
How frequent? What?
How frequent some names appeared in various leagues throughout the country, and we had it broken down by, I think Sam mentioned a couple of things, either pop culture or sexual references, but it extends to kickball related, extends to bad spelling. The worst by far is booze on first. You got to just make sure that booze is misspelled with a Z and no E at the end, and that gets into 4 or 5 categories.
That almost sounds like you're getting into Juggalo territory, maybe with that name. Do you think your tenure with kickball, obviously, a lot of the charm, the dew is off the lily, so to speak, due to your tenure with the kickball and the things you've seen come and go? There are many aspects of the sport. Do you think you would enjoy all these names and think they're clever if it was your first season playing, or would you think they're dumb then too?
Well, for me, I know that I was blessed on my first team to be on a team called Awesome Helicopter Ninjas, and it was just out there. It had nothing to do with kickball. It had nothing to do with anything. It was just like a random team name, and it kind of colored the way that I would run teams and think of teams and themes going forward.
Right.
Sa, you've played on a ton of teams. You must have played on both very uniquely named teams and then also kind of like, a team named Whiskey Kick or something.
Oh, I agree. There is the traditional balls deep. Oh my God. I think that was the one I ran into the most.
Yeah.
Every league in every city had a balls deep or a balls deeper. And
Ball busters. Ball busters. That's another one.
I was just absolutely sick and tired of it.
It's
Absolutely sick and tired of it.
It's funny. There are names that kind of like cross over from like softball to baseball, and like usually it has to do with a bag, a tea bagger, or
I will say the one thing I always feel is awkward because the name has balls in it, and then I feel awkward for the ladies on the team. Like they have to tell their family or their husbands or their kids, "Mommy can't be home tonight. She's playing with the balls in your face gang." I also have to say there's been one name of a team that I loved, and I thought this team was super amazing until I met them. And there was a kickball team in Junction called the Department of Regional Planning.
oh, I love that name too.
Yeah, and then I realized, no, they're really the Department of Regional Planning. I thought it was like a great ironic office-ish type name, and then you said, I went up to the girl who was the captain and said, "How did you think up that awesome name?" And she pulled out her business card. "I'm with the Department of Regional Planning for Los Angeles."
I think I was
facilities.
on the KGBs at the time. We were running the KGBs, and I remember I was like, "That's a hell of a good team
That's
name."
a hell of a good team.
And then you find out the reality behind it, and you're just like, "Oh man."
Yeah, shit. Okay, so we went with names coming out strong. Richard, you would be second up for your choice.
I'm like the second pick in the draft. Is
Yeah.
what you're saying. Okay. So my first pick is breakups.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
Both personal
Oh man.
personal or team. So, and this kind of gets to the look. We all I think started playing this in probably our mid 20s. I think probably late 20s for me.
I was 45 years old.
You're still 45.
You're still 45. What the hell's going on here?
Eternal.
Like a vampire and shit. We were starting to move past kind of the junior high drama bullshit in our lives. Like we were starting to make serious relationships maybe or get real jobs, kind of moving past college. Except for when you were playing kickball, then all of this crap kind of just came flooding back. And you knew you were in trouble whenever there was like a couple playing on your team, but they'd only been together for like, I'd say less than a year.
Yeah.
That was always the potential to completely blow up the team. You know, some sort of, well, he was dating her, but then he boned her, but she didn't know that he was still dating her. And then this happened, and it's like, fuck.
Yeah.
I just want to show up, kick a ball, and then go play some beer pong. That's all I want to do.
That's funny you should say that because I remember being upset at the lack of sexual interest by any woman towards me whatsoever.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I remember thinking, I'm married. I don't want to be, I'm not going to go to the party, but it'd be fun to get an invite. I remember thinking.
I have a key, guys. I have a key if you guys need put it in the bowl.
Yeah. No, thanks.
Yeah, no, it was the same thing for me. I mean, I was with my wife or married the whole time I played kickball. So I was sort of viewing
Removed
it from
from it,
afar.
yeah.
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 But I mean, like, you met your wife playing kickball. You had met your previous girlfriend playing kickball. There's that one photo of a championship game in studio where we played. There's like Guy Fawkes and Valley Girls. And I think there's like 6 or 7 like couples that are married now.
Yeah.
That were played in that game.
Yeah.
And only a couple of them were actually like together at the time.
So you've been viewing the circle of kickball for quite a while. In my experience, it seemed like everybody kind of joined at the same time. Then everybody kind of hooked up. Then everybody settled down. The storming, norming, and conforming of social circles. You see it all the time, right? You see these kind of kickball relationships start anew.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
What is who suffers when a breakup happens?
The captain of the team who has to deal with that shit.
Yeah.
Absolutely the captain. And you know what? Everybody else suffers because there's a certain element, there's a certain sense of community when there are established groups, established teams, established rivalries. And when that establishment changes, it causes a little bit of chaos. And so, for example, if a team breaks up, your own team is somewhat threatened because now players are being recruited, poached. the history of that rivalry may have disintegrated, and everything is stress test, so to speak, right? The anything that's established within the league is stress test because nothing is permanent. And it makes it difficult as a league organizer because, I'll tell you this, my very first season running kickball was way back in 2007. And I had a team that had a lovely couple, and it was right before playoffs that the team splintered. And it screwed up my playoff bracket and everything. And essentially what happened was this girl cheated on her boyfriend who was on the team with another guy who was on the same exact team.
Oh,
and
boy.
so that whole team split into like 3 different factions, and it was absolutely drama. And it was ugly. While it was entertaining to me, it was quite chaotic because, friends of friends, formed alliances, and people had to decide whose side they were on, and it got really ugly.
Yeah.
One of the as like a league rep, one of the things you end up becoming is like the keeper of everyone's secrets. And like by the time the next season rolls around, what's happened to everyone who's broken up, and when they're starting to form teams again, I can't put these 2 people on the same team, and someone's gonna ultimately come to you and say, we can't play together. You have to find me a new team. And it's amazing. Like Richard said, that kind of high school drama of it all. That doesn't just ruin relationships, but just ruins
ruins fun.
Yeah.
So like, for example, if you'd been on a co-captain with somebody for a long time and they came to you 2 weeks before the season started to let you know they're joining another team. Just throwing that out there, Michael.
So, Michael, what's your first choice?
My third choice is bunting in kickball. It's very specific to it as an integral part of the sport.
Would this be your second choice?
This would be my second choice.
Okay.
Usually, the phrase that you hear often is, I was a kickball star in elementary school.
What?
And sometimes you make a T-shirt out of it.
Yeah.
And then there's someone that always shows up that thinks that they're just the best person at kickball because of something they did 20 years ago. And then they see people like bunting to get on base, and then they're not good at it, and they think, I'm just going to kick this ball super far. And I think you learn quickly that the game as it is within WAKA and within like other kickballs, as other kickball avenues as an adult, it's very different than just kicking the ball. There's some, an increased element of strategy, and the game kind of shifts towards that. Mm-hmm. And I guess my big revelation for it was when we were down in 2006 in San Diego. WAKA had the Leaders Cup, which was like a precursor, or was like an offshoot to Founders Cup. And
it was the bogus Founders Cup, basically.
It was like West Coast. It was like West Coast Founders Cup, but then still, teams from the East Coast would fly out and kick everyone's butt. Literally, Kick Asphalt came out and kicked everyone's butt. And it was like the championship game, and I remember just being hot and tired and really sick of like
kickball.
Kind of.
Yeah.
We had another 10 years to go before we called it quits. But like an entire team was just like these 2 teams, Kick Asphalt and Gonzo, were just like dominating via bunting. And it hadn't quite reached the level on like the West Coast. Like it took time to work its way. So,
and we had a captain who was definitely anti-bunting.
Yeah, just anti-corporate. He was anti-everything.
That's true. He was very punk rock, Scott Jones.
And we were sitting on the sidelines watching the final game, and there was like a chant of "We want kickball" started, and like the wave was going, and it was really obnoxious. Mm-hmm. Like back in the day,
we were really obnoxious.
Yeah, we were obnoxious.
Good Lord.
Yeah, when they switched from kickball to win ball, like here's how you win the sport. That's when it seemed to lose the fun.
Yeah, when people started treating it like a sport, which to some extent it is. I still argue against that, but it's amazing to see like just this one avenue, which is like the perfect encapsulation of what adult kickball is, which is removing the elementary school aspect of it where you just kick and run and have fun, and install the, you've really got to try and maybe be athletic. I think you don't really need to be.
I think it felt like sort of someone had found a loophole within this rule set. Like, catcher can't go in front and no one else can come past this imaginary line. So if you can just kick the ball in this one little spot, you can get on literally
like
every time.
a cheat code and Donkey
Yeah,
Kong.
yeah, exactly. It felt like you had Konami'd the shit out of
Yeah.
kickball, you know?
Yeah. That's a funny aspect. I do recall seeing entire teams of people who'd signed up for the fun of it and then realized the rules of it were making them miserable. So, but as you saw, I would probably say, and we'd probably say, there was all kinds of other things that made it fun too. And those things were alcohol. Yeah. Okay, so we are now to Sa's second choice. Sa, what is your second choice, sir?
Flip cup.
All right. Yes. Flip cup.
Oh, that's when it finally came back. I thought I was done with that. Literally, the last time I ever played Flip Cup was my junior year in college, and I had not seen or heard of it again until kickball.
Kickball has
holy crap.
Kickball has a great way of kind of extending the college lifestyle well into your 30s, whether it's drinking games or binge drinking or what have you.
Getting STDs. So my first season of kickball was in Hollywood, which was their second season, which was the first league on the West Coast.
That's a lot of math going on there.
It's too much for me. I've fried too many brain cells playing kickball to figure that out. But Orion Walker, who was the sort of West Coast, he was the Sa before Sa, basically, kept saying, well, you know, at the bar, we really should be playing this game. It's called Flip Cup, and that's what they play on the East Coast. And it'd be great if we kind of matched up and did the same thing.
Really?
Yeah. And we're like, oh, sure. Like, we just wanted to show up and drink. Nobody really wanted to play games. But one time, like in a mid-season party, we were there to watch, like, I don't know, March Madness or something.
Yeah.
They're like, well, why don't we go ahead and play? We sort of knew the rules. Like, well, you fill a cup up, and then you flip, and then you go on the next thing.
Yeah.
Well, no one had explained to us that you're supposed to do like a couple of thimbles full or whatever. We were doing full beers. And after about 5 or 6 rounds of this, it was like that nasty day drinking sort of like bad feeling when you walked out of Big Wangs at 4 PM and the sunlight hits you and it's like, oh God, what have we done?
Saw, you're pretty legendary within the Flip Cup community, within the kickball community.
And beer pong.
And beer pong. Oh, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, you're thinking of him kicking Drew Dorsey's ass at beer pong.
Yeah, over and over.
Repeatedly.
How do you find its integration within like the kickball world? Like bar games, I guess, in general, but Flip Cup specifically.
Well, you know, it's the game does really bring you back to the college days of really not giving a shit about anything else. It's that one brief moment where who you are, where you're from, who you've slept with, doesn't matter on the field. Once people are at the bar, you have something really ridiculous to be engulfed of. And, you know, Flip Cup is just that perfect icebreaker, that perfect link that brings everyone together. And it's been shocking to see how well it does in the community. But, you know, I've seen bars where they don't play drinking games. And when you go there and you see teams kind of in their own little corners and their own little cliques. But when you go to a bar that has something like Flip Cup, it turns into just pure chaos. And people are linking up, and it doesn't matter what team you're on. I mean, you guys have seen how it looks like at probably the best example was Happy Endings, right?
Oh, sure, yeah, of course.
You would use it to start what would ultimately end up into a massive WAKA orgy at the end of the night. And it's just remarkable how that happens. And it's a simple drinking game, but it really does change the environment at the bar.
As soon as I leave a sport, it turns into an orgy.
Happen.
The orgy begins.
So I was just going to say real quick, I think at some point, I know in our league in studio, I think that something switched from Flip Cup to beer pong, and like more people play beer pong than anything else. And I feel like that kind of hurt the camaraderie of the league a little bit, because beer pong is very much, you've got like, you know, max probably 4 people on a table playing. It's not like this communal group thing where you're all, you know, drinking.
You can get a line of 10 people on either side. Doesn't matter what teams you're on.
And you're all drinking, sharing the same cups, getting the same mouth herpes, and it's fantastic. And you don't get that with beer pong, I think.
I think a big thing, I think the communal aspect of it is what is ultimately important. It's the mixing of teams. We had a couple of people that were just really, really big flip cup players, Tyler Granlund and like Doug Jennings, and they were very like gregarious with it and very inviting and always very like they still would kick your ass, but like they wanted to get other people involved in it. And if anything that kind of helped push that along, I guess in our neighborhood and our kind of local divisions, it would be like guys like that who really kind of like the second night, like, you know, kickball ended, but then there was a second half of the night that was like 3 times as long as a kickball game, and it kind of centered around Flip Cup and everything like that.
Yeah, it seems like Flip Cup was the way to, if you lost on the field, you might win at the bar, and a way to reclaim some.
Then you might win in the bedroom.
You might just do that. Okay, cool. So, Richard, what's your second?
All right, my second choice is making best friends. No, I'm kidding. Making enemies. Sorry.
What?
No.
I like that Richard started out with like breakups and then making enemies.
No.
There's a theme here.
No. I'm actually.
Circle of kickball.
I'm going to include both making great friends and also making enemies. So
Okay.
obviously, most of us didn't join. I don't think because we're looking for this like athletic outlet.
Right.
We probably joined like I joined because a lot of my friends from college. I said I was probably like 27. A lot of my friends from college had kind of moved away. We kind of drifted apart. It's like I need to do something to kind of meet more people. And I saw an ad or a story about it in the LA Times.
I saw one of those kickball billboards.
There's a guy with a newspaper going, extra, read all about it. Kickball championships coming today.
Sweeping the needle, looking for good men in the kickball army.
And I just showed up to a pickup game and just kind of got hooked from there. But I think mainly we joined because we were at a point in our lives, for whatever reason, we were looking to expand our circle.
Yeah.
That community that you talked about, I think, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And look at the friends I made through kickball, like you guys. I mean, most of my friends at this point in life, sounds sad, are the friends I made in kickball. You know, you make friends in whatever it is about the sport, and kind of then going out afterward, and then like on the weekends, you know, you go to a party that somebody's got at their house or whatever's going on. I think it means that you are at that particular point in life where you are apt to be able to make these really close connections.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why people were hooking up, and maybe that's why some of these hookups turned into, you know, kind of longer term things.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's the enemies aspect?
Well, the enemies, I think it's you're really focused on this. It's great. Whatever. Shut up, Richard. What's the enemies thing? No, I think the enemies thing, it's parallel to that, right? It's like it's something you're really passionate about. And so when you're passionate about it and you've got these connections, look, I don't have enemies anymore. Like, I don't have anyone I hate, dislike.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I have people in my life, and most of them are fine. Maybe there's a couple of people like at work kind of annoying me, but
Yeah.
they're not enemies. I had enemies in kickball.
Yeah.
Like, there were people in kickball that I hated.
Yeah.
That I wanted to see bad things happen to.
Yeah. Was that due to the tendency of a team to kind of take on a group character, and then one team to oppose? You kind of
Yeah, to
it's
some
like
extent.
wartime propaganda. We paint the enemy as this monster. Is that what it was?
I think there
or
was
individuals.
both. I think there were some teams that like this, like Michael said, our first team, the Ninjas, were very anti everything.
Yeah.
And so any team that we thought of that were, I don't know, just we invented a lot of windmills to kind of tilt out, you know?
Yeah.
But then there were also some people, anyone who took it way too seriously, who came in with the attitude of like the guy who was the kickball hero in 5th grade. I think we naturally wanted to try and knock down a peg.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we invented our own enemies.
Yeah.
To be fair, there are some people who deserved it. I won't name names, but there are some people who definitely deserved it.
You know, there's nothing wacky anymore about softball. And I felt like there were people who came from softball to kickball with that competitive mentality. Kickball has enough of a ridiculousness to it, and it was a game that you played on the playground as a child. It was your first team sport, that I think it made one hope that it was just fun and silly, and look, we're having a good time here. But then there were people who came in and treated it like softball. That was they were overly competitive and didn't have the kind of nose for irony that you brought to it.
It's the guy who's yelling at the refs. It's
Yeah.
that guy.
Yeah.
And Michael and I have refed. I know you ref some too, Jeff, but
Oh, yeah.
And it was miserable.
Yeah.
It was fucking
Yeah.
miserable. So it's that guy. Don't, the guy or girl who takes it way too seriously.
It's that time. It's halfway through. It's when we ask you to download, rate, and review our podcast. But before we do, we're going to ask you to do something else. We're going to ask you to go check out Audible. Why? Because they're offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give somebody, that somebody's you, the opportunity to check out their service. Hey, if you've liked this podcast about kickball, and you probably do because you're halfway through it and you haven't stopped, you might enjoy Horrible Harry and the Kickball Wedding by Susie Klein and Johnny Heller. That's the only Audible kickball book I could find. But you'll probably find something else because they've got 180,000 other titles on Audible. They've got it all. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/Rushmore. Again, that's audibletrial.com/Rushmore for your free audiobook. We're back. Michael, this is your third choice. What is that?
Well, I'm glad that Richard brought up the Don't Be That Guy, because my third choice is the Don't Be That Guy, which every kickball league has it. The one that...
Wait, was this an episode of Friends? Was this Seinfeld?
The one with that guy?
Was this Seinfeld?
He's the guy that does take things too seriously. He's the guy that the Onion article is written about, where it's you just know who he is, who has way too many spreadsheets, which is a lot like me. However, I don't know if I ever became that guy on the field.
You were that guy in the bedroom last night.
I remember a couple of times. I remember you throwing a clipboard one time.
Oh yeah,
that's as mad as
Greg
I ever.
Feicher.
That's about as mad as I ever saw you get.
He was drunk when he was umping, and he deserved.
Michael also kicked an ump out of a game once for being too drunk. So there's that.
Hey, I can give and I can take.
Yep.
I think that there is.
Describe that guy. What does that guy do?
He is a person that.
Usually he, by the way, we're saying he. I guess it could be.
No.
But
It's
almost
genderless. They argue every call, yet they've never attended like a rules clinic. They have no problem yelling at the umpire.
Yeah.
Yet if they're in the same position, are just as likely to be looking at their phone while they're umping as well.
Yeah.
There's it's a real dichotomy of being willing to ignore their own.
Sounds like toxic masculinity. It sounds like our president,
God,
the president of the United States. Yeah.
Our very last game that we ever played, we had a couple of really close friends take us to the limits on bad sportsmanship.
Well, the one that we umped specifically. Because
Yeah.
actually, after our retirement game, quote unquote, we stuck around to ump. It was a playoff game. We stuck around to ump the next game. And, people that we've known for 10 years we're just pushing us to the break point.
People that have been invited to some people's weddings. And
Wow.
it was just like, it was the perfect, cap on, like our career or whatever. Just be like, oh yeah, this is going to be here to the final moment that I'm on the field. There's always going to be like a couple of guys that will just take things too far and not be able to see the forest for the trees and still treat me like garbage, even though it's like, man, we were just in the pool like 2 weekends ago at our friend's house. What's going on here?
And umping a game is this voluntary thing that everyone, it's almost like jury duty. It's really part of the democracy of the process that you really should do every once in a while, but they treat you like you're scum of the earth.
The trouble is too, and I mean, Sa must know a ton about this. It's so difficult to be the ultimate bad guy in these situations. To be because you're friends with all of these people.
Yeah,
like at least your acquaintances. You've probably played flip cup with them or against them, or maybe they've been on your team in a different league.
Yeah,
and you kind of have to wear it a little bit, and at the same time, you just can't believe it. And I know it's like a challenge that we deal with in like super competitive leagues and teams, and I'm sure like on Founders Cup this weekend, like you'll see a ton of that guy around.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I mean, that's why like the circuit tournament has implemented yellow and red cards. I mean, to think that you need to implement a card system like that of World Cup soccer into a game like kickball, that tells you how extreme it can be. And it does bring out there are moments where this game brings out the scum of the earth.
I played on that team too, I think, by the way.
It's unfortunate, but it's true. And you just see some stuff that is absolutely like, you have to see it to believe it. Like, if someone tells me this guy acted like this over kickball, I wouldn't believe it. And then you see it happen right before your eyes. These people arguing as it's life and death, that they're going to lose sleep over this call. It's quite remarkable.
That's funny. I have been in social situations in which the win or loss was amplified by the fact that there were relationships around, there were romantic relationships. Maybe this person who's arguing might think that their status as the captain, their opportunity to have access to willing females might be impacted somehow by this call. There's so many things that elevates this into a Lord of the Flies moment for this idiot who's turning kickball into a live or die moment. That those are kind of what makes kickball so fun. The fact that it becomes your world for a while.
I do like it when like someone is so overly aggressive and they're yelling at a guy in a cape.
Yeah.
And you're like, what world are we in right now?
I remember you talked me off a ledge once. I was third base ump, and there was a guy who was, maybe it was his first time pitching. He stepped over the line like 8 times in a row, and I kept calling him on it. He would yell at me. So much.
It's okay, Jeff. It's okay, Jeff.
I started yelling back at him.
We're here for you, Jeff.
I'm petting my service animal right now. No, that's my penis. Okay. All right. We have now gone to Sa.
All right. Theme nights, dressing up.
Oh, fun.
Oh, right. Again, another thing like Flip Cup I thought I would never see again except during Halloween, except in kickball, every season there's a quote-unquote night to dress up in character and costume of whatever theme that the league rep would choose. And some leagues, it was literally almost every other week.
In England, they call them fancy dress games.
But they run to third base, then second base, then first base. What aspect? What I love about Halloween is it kind of unleashes the inner freak for a lot of people. And do these theme nights do the same thing?
Right, you have the inner freak, and then you have some characters that like to think, like Halloween is a chance to be as quote unquote sexy or slutty as possible. There were people that took advantage of this as well, and I think part of what made it kind of interesting was the fact that league reps, like with team names, you just couldn't do the same theme nights. At first, it was simple, like, hey, next week is Pirate Night. And then maybe there's a theme night that capitalizes on an upcoming holiday like St. Patrick's Day, right? Everybody wears green, but
Nerd Night was very popular too.
That was every night, Michael.
But then you got creative, like Rubik's Cube Night, where people had to swap clothes and wear the same color, or ABC Night, which stood for anything but clothes. And it was.
Consensual sex
remarkable.
night. Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, and these are grown adults that are out playing a kid's sport, going to play some drinking games, and wearing the most ridiculous outfits you could possibly imagine.
One of my teams in Hollywood, early teams that Scott was on, we had it was Halloween night, and someone showed up in a cape, and Scott kept telling him, "Take your cape off, Jorge. Take your cape off." Wouldn't listen. Went up for a fly ball, got horribly tangled in his cape, and like an easy fly ball went to a home run. So that became our just don't show up in capes.
Yeah.
Which is why, so like when The Incredibles came out,
Edna
and there's
mode.
the whole Edna mode, like no capes thing, I was like, well, there you go.
I do like that WAKA has made an industry of it in like Las Vegas itself. Like they recognize that there are enough people that like to dress up and play kickball at the same. Like I'm one of them. I had an entire team, many teams that have had like season long, like basically costume parties, whether it was like the Hobo Olympians, where we're
the best.
half hobos, half Olympians, I guess.
Right.
It's probably Hobo Olympians is probably on my Mount Rushmore of teams that I've been on. Probably along with the Awesome Helicopter Ninjas and Utica Kickerbockers and
A kickball team, maybe.
I guess a kickball team.
Yeah,
but like that WAKA has like enough sense to like say, okay, there are enough people that take this serious, but then there is equally amount of people that just like want to dress up like clowns and play kickball or take off all their clothes and play kickball.
Yeah.
like is impressive for them to just like capitalize on. And it must be in itself, it's an extra challenge to get people who are like there just to drink and they're just to bake in the sun and then they're just to I guess look like Fred Flintstone.
I would like to say I was above that, but then again, the first half of my last season, I dressed up like Adam Ant from like Ant music era with like the hat that looked like Judge Reinhold from Fast Times at Ridgemont
Sure,
High.
yeah.
And
I think it's a pirate hat. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be a pirate, so I really can't say anything.
So, Sa, one thing that seems to be a theme that's emerging for you is you're the guy that seems to supervise. You're the ringmaster who never really gets to have the fun, it seems. Or this stuff, has all this stuff stopped being fun for you?
You know what? It's
just stopped being
it took
new.
a while to kind of edge. No, certainly it's not. It's always new. There's always some idiot or something that happens that you go, wow, I thought I saw everything and then I didn't.
Yeah.
But you know what? To be able to manage this in a way that keeps me sane, I have to kind of manage from a distance and not immerse myself into the drama, so to speak, right?
Ah, okay.
When you get caught up in a drama where your name is amongst the names of people who are suspecting you sleeping with so-and-so or doing this, then the job becomes really difficult.
I see.
So you have to kind of, it's kind of like being at a party, but not being at the center of the party, being the guy that's kind of just watching and keeping an eye on everything.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can survive, man.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's crazy.
I do think it's kind of ironic sometimes that people who, hey, I like alcohol a lot. I love to drink. I'll think I'll open a bar. Next thing you know, you've got to tap the kegs and clean off the bar. You're peripheral to the action sometimes. So, okay, then it's Sa. So now it's Richard.
All right, so my third one is your first good kick.
Oh.
Sounds like a St. Pauli girl ad. You'll never forget.
Or it sounds like Garrison Keillor. Little Billy had his first good kick.
It's been a quiet week.
Playing kickball. I showed up to a kickball pickup game in Hollywood, and I'd never didn't know anything about like the rules other than what I played in elementary school or whatever. And I got my line, hey, you're first, second, third, fourth, whatever. And I got up, and I didn't play soccer, but I kind of played pickup soccer and stuff. And I was good at kicking things. I felt pretty confident in my ability to kick things. And I just got up, and someone rolled a little slow, like boop, 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 boop. And again, they're just kind of, okay, there's literally nobody in center field within like 50 feet of this giant gap. Why don't I kick it in that giant gap? Just kind of put it there, got a double, did the same thing the next time, pitched an inning, and we've discussed my bowling exploits, I think, on the show before. So I could kind of underhand with some speed. And man, did I feel like a fucking champ. Like, it was a good feeling just to be able to, like, do something athletic on the field. I'm not athletic, but I'm not a jock.
That's for sure.
Yeah, left myself open for that one. But there's like a very specific skill set that allows you to be good at kickball. Like, maybe not great. I mean, you need to be fast. I was never super fast. But I had enough of the skill set that I could be good. It's a very specific, narrow sort of thing. There are people who I had on teams that played like minor league baseball who sucked at kickball. And it was just like, wait a second, why can't you make this translate?
There was always an overly athletic person who, after you were playing for a few years, you could tell was just like fodder for people who have played for a while. You're like, okay, I know that they're just going to try to kick the ball as hard as they can, and they're going to pop up. They could probably kick the ball like a country mile, but at the same time, that can be caught.
Yeah.
And they don't really do anything else other than like wail on the ball. So being able to be kind of facile in what you can do was always kind of important. The first pickup game I came to, I responded to a live journal post that Richard actually posted. I still have like the flyer from that you also put up as well.
Don Rickles.
The Don Rickles. I have that on my fridge still. But I remember going to my first like pickup game, and it was the same thing. It was like, it wasn't competitive, and they rolled the ball in, and I kicked, and I slid into second base, even though I don't know how to slide.
You had some sort of crazy attempt to dive to catch a ball. I remember.
Yeah, I tore up my knees, and I felt great.
Yeah.
Like I met you, and I met Scott, and then this was over in Hollywood, and I lived in the Valley, or still live in the Valley. And just, I remember us helping clean up afterwards, talking to you guys, and Scott mentioned that he was starting a new league over in North Hollywood. And I was like, oh my God, that's my backyard. And the name of the team was the Awesome Helicopter Ninjas. And it was just like, everything is falling into place. All of like the Venn diagram of my life is just like, okay, this is less than 10 minutes away, and this is something that I feel like I can do, and it's ninja related. And I was like, I'm 100% in.
What I remember from your first pickup game was walking, talk to you, like you said. And I walked away. I think I told Scott, I was like, yeah, he'd fit in with our team. I think he seems really enthusiastic. Maybe a little too enthusiastic, but really enthusiastic about it. So then you joined the team, and then were intimidated and scared of me for the first. Thought that I hated everybody for the first season.
I'm still waiting for that feeling to go away.
Yeah,
So what was your first game? You too, Jeff. What was yours after Saw?
My first game. Wow. I mean, I just remember my very first time playing kickball was because I was chasing after this girl who I wanted to hook up with and everything. And she had invited me because I was playing men's softball at the time. I also was playing in a flag football league. When I finally played that first night, I decided that there were about 5 other women I would have rather hook up with.
Nice.
So that was probably the end of my attempted relationship with her, because I kind of said, whoa, this is fun, and all these girls are definitely here to meet other boys, and we're going to the bar afterwards, and it was a whole new life for me. And
that's a funny aspect, because I had the same story, but it wasn't with girls, it was with friends. Like, I remember our team, I loved the people on the team, but they were playing too seriously, and they were kind of heckling other teams in a not very funny way. And I remember thinking, these ninja guys, they seem to be having a good time in a kind of an ironic, goofy kind of way. And
right.
And there was some pregnant cheerleaders, and there's some other things that maybe they aren't the best themes, but these people seem like they're having a good time with it. And I remember thinking, my team, they love each other, and they're not here to meet anybody new. They're not here to go out and I don't know. I just remember thinking
it felt very. Your team was sort of insular.
Yeah, they and it's cool. They wanted to play together, and that's cool. But
they were a team that was named after somebody on the team. Which, by the way, to go back to team names, is just a sign of your team is probably douchebags.
Well, yeah, we also had a cheer, and we had to say the damn cheer all the time. And, it was probably what a bunch of actors would do when they're intimidated by athletics. So I can understand that.
Yes, and?
Yes, and. Yeah. We are now up to Michael. This is your last?
Yeah, my last one. If you're moving to another city, go join kickball.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Richard brought this up earlier that talked about, you suddenly are introduced to a friend group and a circle of like-minded people that is now 100 to 300 people strong. You, especially if like me and like all of us who've played before, I stopped playing, but if we ever moved, 100% I would be the 42-year-old guy that would go join a kickball team to just meet new people and just know that there's something that drew all of these people here in the first place, and I have similar kind of DNA with all of these people, or I just start a league. It would be one of those things if it didn't exist, I would start it because I know what it's done for me in terms of, like Richard said, I met my wife basically through kickball, and all of my friends, Jeff's here in the room, and he married me and my wife, and I met him through kickball. And Richard's one of my best friends.
That's kind of kinky.
It's
very
super kinky. Super kinky.
But it's amazing that the number of friendships and connections, and even business connections and things that you can make. And moving to a new town and a new city is scary and rough. Whether it's moving to LA that's gigantic, or I'm sure reducing to a smaller town where, in order to meet someone, you'd have to know where it is that's a good place to drink, or how do you do it when you're in your, you leave high school and you go to college and you're thrust into this mix of anywhere from 10,000 to 30,000 people or whatever it is, and then you're still trying to navigate, and then all of a sudden after 4 or 5 years that's done, and you're thrust into this world where the only people I know are the people I work with and God, Becky from accounting. I don't like her. So like
Nobody likes Beck.
Basic Becky, yeah.
fucking Becky. But like kickball is this thing where it has enough stuff that is like, oh yeah, these people just want to go out and run around for an hour or two a night, and then and they want to go drinking, and you know that there is like this camaraderie with being on a team.
Yeah.
Like for me, before kickball, I'd never played any sports. Like I played tennis growing up, and I dabbled in different things, but I never played any team sports.
Rolf ball? Did you play any Rolf ball? Inside joke.
And it was amazing to be like, oh, suddenly I have to learn sportsmanship and how to be a teammate.
Yeah.
And I would 100% do it 10 times out of 10 if I moved.
Yeah, totally agree. It was the same experience for me. I felt instantly I had about 150 new friends, and it was pretty cool. And I would say you could also volunteer at your local homeless shelter, but there's no beer there, right? Come on.
When you try to get a flip cup game going at your local homeless
try to
shelter, it
get
just falls apart
It just
pretty
doesn't
quickly.
work out as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff is one to talk. You are the busiest, but also the kindest person that I
Me?
know.
No, no, sir.
You, like whether you're volunteering for Children of the Night or you're involved in, like you're constantly bettering yourself and you're better than.
Or an
yeah.
accordion club.
Or an accordion club.
Like-
I have my sins, clearly. Well, Sa, I think it's your turn to give your last choice, and then Richard's last, and then we'll be done with this.
Sure thing. Well, this one is I saved the best for last, and because this belongs to a very unique group of people, and of which Mr. Winfield is definitely on the Mount Rushmore of. But this goes out to the people who are crazy enough to actually work this job, to run kickball leagues, to organize theme nights, to deal with the teams, to set all this up. And we talk about how crazy our players are, but I think the craziest of them all are people like us, and the fact that we take time and effort to put it together, because honestly, it wouldn't happen without us, and it wouldn't happen without the leadership, the creativity, and the sacrifice and time to put it together. So, my hat's off to everyone who's done this. And of course, Mr. Winfield, who, if you ask all the players who still play in LA today, will definitely put him on the top of their Mount Rushmore list for being such not only just a facilitator of the game, but a facilitator for their social life. And that's what Michael's done. And it's been a remarkable journey. And I thank him and others like him for it. It's been amazing.
I think a lot of it starts, well, thank you. I think a lot of it starts being very selfish and kind of turns into like self-sacrificing. Like you start organizing because you think you can do it better. You think you can help a community of people that all of a sudden, like we've been saying, like 150 friends are like, oh my God, this isn't as good as it can be. You see all the problems. I mean, I think both me and Richard and our friend Scott and a number of others kind of started out as like these kickball anarchists. And then you kind of realize that you're just like tilting at windmills until you're in the system. And then you're like, oh, I can make the schedule, and then the schedule will be fine. Like
Yeah.
I don't have to complain about umpiring assignments, and I don't have to complain about like a schedule that's unbalanced. It's just like I can go in and just like I can go fix that, and then that's fixed. Although, some things never get fixed. You're just tinkering on it for 10 years.
I was always happy to not be in the system.
Yeah.
Like I never worked for WAKA, although I was a president years ago when they still had league presidents. But I was always more happy to be I think Michael used to say that as like your consigliere.
Yeah, you're always my Tom Hagen.
Right. Not a wartime consigliere.
Not a wartime.
But I was always happy to be the one, like Michael would come to and say, hey, I got an issue with this. What do you think is a good idea? And I could bounce, we'd bounce ideas off each other and usually figure something out, And that was nice because I could kind of give my input and feel like I was contributing, but I didn't have to be the person anyone yelled at when something went wrong.
Yeah, I was
Sucker.
always got yelled at.
For Michael, it was a drug, right? I mean, it was one league, then it became 2 leagues, and it became 3 leagues at one point. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Star and Valley. Holy shit, man.
Hashtag save star.
I think you definitely gain a lot of perspective once you're done with it too. Like, I make this joke to like a circle of friends where it's like, Can you imagine what it's like to be like Barack Obama and just seeing Donald Trump go in and just
Shit on everything.
just take apart everything that you'd built up for 10 years? Then you're just like, oh, you guys aren't.
Yeah.
You're not doing that thing
He
anymore.
doesn't.
The thing that worked perfectly.
Yeah.
It's just.
This guy doesn't even know the states or certainly not their capitals. And
You
yeah.
you definitely have to learn to step back and then delete the 3 pages of like response to like a Facebook group thread.
Yeah.
That you're just like, no one cares.
You're retired.
You're done. You've put in your time, and there are people that are paid to do this, and there are people that are actively the players that are in the Facebook group know who they are now, rather than the 15 people who are just hangers on.
Right.
Here's a kind of funny thing. I remember being new to kickball and finding everybody there so fun and interesting, but I wasn't very good athletically. My team didn't really mix and mingle. So when I volunteered to become to do the newsletter, I decided I was going to do a web page with videos and all that kind of stuff. So I remember trying to use my newsletter webpage as social currency so that now I could be ingratiated to all these different people and meet all these different people. I spent 2 days out of my week making this fucking newsletter. This time.
We all did. And I was thinking about this. Like, I think the fact that I like to be the behind-the-scenes anonymous-y guy was probably why Dr. Nick
Oh, sure.
came
Oh,
in. By the
yeah.
way, P.S. guys, I was Dr. Nick.
Oh, my God.
So for the uninitiated, many, many years ago in Hollywood, I'd started doing, when I was doing the newsletter, I started doing a weekly pick section, and I decided to create a character called Dr. Nick Cash. And he was just he was based on all of the like football touts that you see running ads on like Sunday morning. Call me now. I got my 5-star NFC pick of the week and all that kind of crap where it's just, it's, what's that Al Pacino movie? One for the Money, I think.
Oh, I don't know.
I think that was based basically on that world. And it started off for like a season or so of like just straightforward, he's making picks, here's a spread.
Yeah.
And then I think I was bored or drunk or God knows what. I did one that was, it just started to get a little bit, like I think I'd had some bad picks a few weeks in a row, and it just started to get sideways.
Yeah.
And somehow it devolved in the course of a couple of seasons to this Dr. Nick character who was
Eventually 3 people started writing it. You and me and another.
And Paul.
Paul. And it was... we developed a whole backstory. His name became Dr. Nick Cassavetti, and it was just like it just got.
He was a mean drunk,
and
he hated kickball,
and
somehow he was always forced to come back and have to make kickball picks. And
it was.
So
I think we stopped it when people started asking to be kind of shit upon. It was like, okay, we've taken it too far.
But there's that. Like, I think it's that same thing that it's like we all put all these hours into it, right? Like, and
the volunteerism amongst like a kickball board is impressive. Like whether it was doing the newsletter like Jeff said, or whether it was like organizing a charity event, or doing like setting up bar games. Like I know that bar games and like that sort of social aspect is taken off, and that's all practically run by volunteer people. Just a quick shout out to Jeff. I knew Jeff was a quality person when I shot a video, just like an interview video with me and Paul.
Was this the superpowers one?
Yeah, and we shook hands at the end, and we pretended to be electrocuted. And then I said to Jeff, I was like, Jeff, can you animate it so there's like electricity? And it was like, a day and a half later that you came back, and like you obviously had spent all night working on like these digital After Effects. It was
It
was like, wow, you went way too far for something that lasts a minute and 45 seconds.
It was pretty fun. It was so fun. I loved helping lend irony to it. So, Richard, wrap it up.
All right, my last one, kickball injuries.
Ooh.
Something that I know...
I saw that website. Oh, I just can't look away. I like, you look away.
Are you 18 or over? Like, yes. I guess I got relatively lucky for as long as I played, and the fact that, again, as I mentioned, maybe not the most athletic. I think what I made up for was just sheer stupidity and throwing myself around the field, especially on defense. And what I do, I broke a couple of ribs one time trying to dive into a base. And then I broke a couple of ribs later on trying to do a Ric Flair flop at the bar and falling down the wrong way. So I don't know if that counts or not.
Yeah.
scraped my knees up more times than I care to. I mean, my knees are made out of like paper mache at this point, or like tissue paper.
Oh dear.
I mean, and that's the thing. When you hurt yourself playing kickball, and the next day you've got like this like weeping like wound that keeps like bleeding through your pants leg and the bandages, and people go, "Oh my God, what happened to you?" Yeah, I hurt myself playing soccer. I was playing soccer last night. It's like you can't tell. There's this block of saying, "Oh yeah, I was playing adult kickball."
Yeah.
And I dove for a ball, and then I ripped all the skin off of my knee or something.
Have you had any major injuries, Sa?
I myself, no. I've seen plenty of crazy injuries, but I've been fortunate enough not to overexert myself in the field and embarrass myself at work by saying I got hurt playing kickball.
Michael broke his ankle.
I broke my ankle. Yeah, sliding into third.
Which then people on our team started running over to help him, and our captain Scott said, just get away. You're not doctors. Just
That's
go
funny.
away. Perfect Scott thing. Oh yeah, and I had a heart attack. That's the other thing that happened while playing
You
kickball.
buried the lead, sir.
That is sort of burying the lead a little bit. And then went out and finished the rest of the game, and then went to the bar afterward.
Oh God.
Hardcore.
Jeez.
I think I got my...
Oh my God.
yeah, hardcore here.
You're like the Peter O'Toole or strong drinker. Speaking of the bar, I think that's where my most... The times I kind of injured myself most was probably at the bar. Kickball was the thing that made me acknowledge that me and alcohol, maybe we need to take a break. And then after we separated, me and alcohol realized, this was never good to begin with.
Right. did you and alcohol have any kids together?
I don't know. Not that I know
Possible.
of. I do know that alcohol was seeing other dudes while I was with alcohol.
Yeah, for
alcohol
sure.
was with a lot of different guys.
Alcohol's a whore.
Also,
everybody.
let's more liquor.
I always told new players when they asked about kickball, like the dangers and risks, I always said you are more likely to get an STD playing kickball than you are to get injured playing the game. I still think that's true.
That's very true. Well, the risks of being on Mount Rushmore is that you will participate and the judge might determine that you didn't do very well against our seasoned competitors here.
No, the umpire.
Sorry, the umpire.
Oh,
That's
no,
right.
sorry, the ref.
The ref.
It's a ref.
Hey, Blue, what's the score? Well, it's the bottom of the fifth inning, right? That's the end of a kickball game, right? 6. So is it 6 now? Or was it always? Okay. It's the bottom of the sixth inning. The last player has gone up to kick the ball, and so now I, as the umpire, have to determine who's the winner. But never fear, Sa, because you're the guest, and you obviously dispatched yourself with aplomb. So you, sir, are the winner. So I don't want to bury the lead like Richard did. I'm gonna say that you are.
What?
And,
are you blind?
but,
what are you talking about?
Oh my God!
Have you ever judged?
Where's this
anything
dirt?
before?
How are you kicking dirt on my legs? We have dirt in our studio.
He brought his own dirt in.
brought his own
He emptied
studio.
it out, then kicked it all over Jeff.
But I do think, Sa, maybe you had the biggest perspective when it came to your choices, and that's why I award you the winner. But I'm going to talk about these other guys. So I think Michael, very frequently in Mount Rushmore, has an individualist attitude towards it. His choices really echoed that. Bunting, the individual in a very small way impacting the team. Obnoxious team names, well, that was something that you both chose. The individual guy who ruins everything for everybody. And then that individual moving on to another city and joining kickball and a way to expand your life as an individual. Richard had kind of the ages of man from a Shakespearean standpoint or poetic standpoint, and it went through all those kind of timelines.
I started on 4 legs.
Yeah,
and then I went to 2 legs.
But just the idea of your first good kick, making friends, losing those friends through breakups, injuries, which of course lead to fatalities, which lead to all those kickball funerals that we attend every week. And then, Sa, I felt like your theme was always about community. It's about how kickball brings people together. Team names, we're uniting under this flag that we fly that has our team name, Flip Cup. How we're sometimes befuddled the fact that this game that we played so we could get alcohol poisoning in college has somehow come into these bars and has been played by the adults. Theme nights where we all unite under our costumes and things like that. And then your role, which I think you've obviously done well because you have done it successfully as a league rep, and how challenging you and Michael say it is. I don't hardly believe it, but you say it's challenging to be a league rep, so, and ward over this community and make sure that everybody is pretty much taken care of. So, but specifically the choices, Sa, I really love your choice of theme nights because it resonates big time with me. It was always such a fun thing to see people out of their kickball clothes and
Oh yeah.
and in a pirate costume or something like that. And then I thought it was really actually just fun is that your befuddlement that Flip Cup came from college and then landed on the folding tables of kickball. So Sa got 2 of the points. Richard, your first good kick, that was just such an emotional and very visceral feel for me because I remember how much I, as a grown-ass man, felt born again when you have an raising kick. You suddenly feel like a hero. And to round things off, it's something that I think we all agree with because and that was Michael's point. Join kickball. We talked about the idiosyncrasies of kickball and how challenging it can be, or how there are some aspects of it that, like life, we don't enjoy. But we all agree it's a great sport. It's a great way to meet people, and like Sa said, it's a great way to be a part of a community. So join kickball. So Richard got 1, Michael got 1. Sa, you got 2. That made you the winner of this Mount Rushmore of adult kickball. Boom! And as winner, you get to go on the Founders Cup, I think.
The Founders Cup of Mount Rushmore.
Of Mount Rushmore. That's right.
I'll be in the fun games.
Oh, the fun. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be in the fun games of Mount Rushmore. I'll be dressed up as a clown from just from the waist up, buck naked, pants off.
Okay, I love it.
I was going to say, anybody who's interested in checking out what this crazy community we talked about is, you can definitely go to clubwaka.com. That's WAKA, clubwaka.com. You can find us also on social media, Instagram, #ClubWaka, as well as on Facebook, Club Waka. Check it out. See what it's all about, make some new friends, and make some amazing memories, and maybe one day you yourself can be on the Mount Rushmore of kickball.
All right, so this has been the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff.
I'm Richard.
I'm Michael.
Don't argue with me. I'm the umpire here. You can't argue with me.
I'm not Michael.
Look, there was tie goes to the runner.